What's up, guys? Episode 18. Sorry I'm late here. It's been kind of a rough couple weeks, which I'll talk about. So in this video, I will put the workout and the details below so you guys can try it out if you'd like. I'm actually recovering from gnarly food poisoning that I got from eating raw oysters, which kills 1 in 4 people apparently. It's pretty gnarly. God bless all those people who are no longer with us because of oysters. Never eating raw oysters again. But yeah, this workout I'm going a little bit slower and not as intense as I normally do because I'm recovering from that. It was crazy. I'm all good now, but this was filmed about a week ago. But anyways, on today's podcast, don't forget to like, subscribe if you find some value. And if you want to train with me directly or grab my program, I have a link below also to my link tree where you can either apply for personal coaching, get in the best shape of your life in 3 months, or grab my program. So, today I wanted to talk about kind of the state of the health in the United States because I live in the US. I've traveled all around the world. I've kind of, more specifically, I've traveled a lot to Europe. My mom's from Europe, so used to go there a lot growing up, and there is a clear difference in the food quality. I've always noticed that even before I got really all into this, and it's pretty disturbing. So I wanted to get into some things. I have a few talking points that I've written out just so I don't forget. But yeah, just wanted to start with talking about the state of health in our country right now, which is really disturbing, really disturbing. So starting from the top, right now the 3 biggest killers are heart disease, cancer, and type 2 diabetes, all avoidable chronic diseases. Do some people have more genetic predisposition to this? Of course, but with lifestyle intervention, very, very avoidable, and most people are not doing what they need to do to avoid these things. So we'll talk about that. Half of all of Americans are on prescription drugs for these issues and others. Not to mention the kind of mental health epidemic and how that's so quickly remediated by just giving people medication versus inquiring about their lifestyle. So let me give you a quick story. When I was in college, I've actually told this story before in this podcast, but some of you may be listening for the first time and whatever. So I was studying neuroscience in college. I was planning to go to medical school after, and I was taking the second kind of round of organic chemistry, which is no joke. And, I was finding it really, I was just very discouraged because I would see some other kids just kind of fly by certain things, and I had to work so hard, study so hard, and I'd always had ADHD throughout my life. I'd never been like diagnosed with it, but I clearly had all the symptoms. Always had a hard time sitting still and focusing. Always made impulsive, stupid decisions. Just everything that you can think of, and I'll get into that because I literally went to the doctor for it. I had it. I had it. And I have it. It's my personality. It's just your personality, and now we put labels on it. But anyways, so I decided to go to the doctor because, I just wanted to see what he would say, what he would ask me, if there was something that I was doing wrong in my lifestyle. I just kind of wanted to hear from an expert. I think I was 21 at the time. I'm 28 now, just FYI. I was 21 at the time and just wanted to hear from somebody who dealt with this on a daily basis and was an expert in the field. I wasn't looking to get a prescription. I actually already was wise to that. I was already wise to the addictive medication that they place children on for these types of things, but I was just open-minded, just wanted to see what would happen, what would the guy say, all that type of stuff. So I went into his office. He was an old dude, very old dude. Didn't really want to have conversation, was just like, hello, take a seat, blah, blah, blah. And then started to proceed to go through a routine checklist of questions for an ADHD diagnosis, literally on a clipboard. The questions were so obvious. And what I mean by that is, if I were there as a 21-year-old, and a lot of people probably do this in college, if I were there to get a prescription for Adderall, the questions are so obvious. It's like, answer yes if you want Adderall. Answer no if you want Adderall. It's like, do you drive fast? Yes. Do you make impulsive decisions? Yes. Do you have a hard time sitting still and focusing? Yes. So all these very generic, easy questions. So he went through that. I passed with flying colors, answering honestly too. I was just being very honest about who I am, my personality. And then he proceeds literally to reach into like a little drawer and grab pills and put them in an envelope and hand them to me. They were 7 pills of dextroamphetamine or something like that. I forgot the exact name, but it's an off-brand Adderall. It's not exactly Adderall, but it's an amphetamine. It's of the same family. And I kind of looked at him and, I was like, well, what about like my lifestyle? He didn't ask me anything about my sleep. How much are you sleeping? What is the quality of your sleep? What do you eat? How much do you eat of it? How often do you eat out? What kind of foods are you eating specifically? How much water do you drink? How much do you exercise? Do you do any drugs? Do you smoke weed? Do you drink alcohol? Do you blah, 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 blah. Things that you should ask a young man before you put him on addictive drugs. Very addictive drugs. Didn't ask me any of that. Nothing. And wasn't interested. So I brought it up. I was like, well, don't you want to hear a little bit more about my lifestyle, my sleep quality, all that? He's like, the medication's the only thing that works. And I was like, well, what about meditation? There's literally studies. I didn't really say this, but there's literally studies indicating that when you meditate and you practice for a long time, you literally grow the gray matter in your brain, which is associated with helping you focus and control yourself, control your urges, basically develop the human part of your brain, the prefrontal cortex, which governs control, planning, logical reasoning, all of this stuff, reaction, reactions, being able to control the way you react to things. Meditation clearly helps with all these things. He said, no, nah, medication's the only thing that works. So I was like, okay. And keep in mind, at this point, I had already read several books on diet, called like The Grain Brain, Healing ADHD, all of this stuff that clearly shows that a high sugar and high refined processed carbohydrate diet clearly leads to a lot of these issues, ADHD being one of them, depression, all this shit. When you change your diet up, people fix that stuff. So I was keen to all of this. I was aware of this, and he was just completely disregarding it, just gave me the pills. Well, I said, well, to be honest, Doc, I've taken Adderall and stuff like that before, and no matter how small of a dose that I take, no matter how early in the day, I could wake up at 4:30 a.m. and take 5 milligrams of Adderall, which is a very small dose, very early in the morning. I will not sleep that night. It just won't work. I've tried it. And then so he hears me say that, reaches into the same drawer, puts some more pills in an envelope, basically handed me benzos, clonazepam, benzodiazepines, which are basically anti-anxiety medication, right? So this guy, in our short little meeting, had just handed a perfectly healthy 21-year-old man 2 of the most addictive supplements on the market. And let me tell you this, benzodiazepines are dangerously addictive. If you're on them for even just 2 weeks in a row, you cannot just stop at cold turkey. You'll have a seizure. It's like coming off of severe alcohol addiction. It affects the nervous system very similarly. So these are no joke, man. No joke. You build a dependency like that. Even within a week, but 2 weeks, you're done. You can't just stop. You have to, at that point, wean yourself off, which is a whole nother fucking thing, right? So, I went home and I threw the pills away. I just threw them away because I had actually been doing that stuff. I had been taking Adderall, I'd been taking benzos, and not just for focusing, but for fun and partying, because that's kind of just what the college environment is, and I kind of fell into that stupid lifestyle. And I had that addictive personality because I had ADHD, which again I think is just a personality, and there's a way that you can channel that. And there's things that you can do in your lifestyle that mitigates the negative sides of having ADHD. I just have a brain that works like 1,000,000 miles per hour, and if you give in to the negative sides of that, it ruins your life. If you can use it as a weapon, you can be extremely successful. So I had an extremely addictive personality. I had gotten off of benzos. I had gotten off of Adderall successfully on my own. By the way, I actually had a seizure coming off of Xanax, like an idiot. I didn't know what I was doing. I just stopped taking it, and I had a seizure, a grand mal seizure. It's insane. But anyways, yeah, lots of stories to tell you guys. But so I threw those things away, and I started to really get into this sort of new lifestyle that I embody and walk the walk today holistically. And it took me a while, because I'd grown up my whole life eating sugar, just living wrong, fueling the negative sides of my ADHD. And so this is where like big pharma comes in, right? People have to understand that big pharma makes so much money and they fund so many things, and they are like any other corporation in this country, profit driven. Sorry, it's my dog. They're profit driven. So what this means is they don't care about making you healthy. They care about making money, as any company does. And that's the bad part of free market capitalism. I'm all for free market capitalism, but when you don't have the proper regulatory practices, when you have regulatory agency capture, which is what's going on in our country, where FDA, NIAD, whatever the acronym is, all CDC, WHO, these organizations are basically incubators now for big pharma drugs, medications, and vaccines. Not against any of those, but you have to see it through that lens. You have to understand these are profit-driven companies. There is no money in healthy people. There simply is no money. Sorry, my dog's being a little annoying. So we clearly saw this with the opioid crisis, overprescription of addictive pain meds that led to catastrophe. I live in California. A lot of the homeless people you see on the street, you best believe a lot of them probably started just taking opiates because their doctor gave it to them, because maybe they got in a car accident or something like that, and then their life went to crap because they stopped getting prescription from the opioids for the opioids, but the addiction lasts. So they must go seek it out. Addiction is extremely powerful, guys. It's not just as simple as like, I'm not going to do this anymore. When you start to mess with these types of drugs, amphetamines, benzos, opioids, you build a physiological dependency on these things. And so this is the problem. And not only that, guys. We have statins that lower cholesterol. Cholesterol is a main building block of testosterone. All of these different medications that people are on. Half of Americans are on these drugs. Half. Just blindly take these drugs because the doctor told them to. Because they outsource the responsibility of learning and researching on their own to the doctor. Because not only do they trust the doctor as an expert, and I'm not hating on doctors. Doctors are amazing. But when it comes to this side of it, even doctors are captured by the agency. They must follow suit. And if they don't, they get deemed as quacks. They lose their licenses a lot of the times. So you need to do the research on your own, and you need to make the tough choices. And people don't want to do that. A lot of people do have the knowledge, but they don't have the wherewithal to make the disciplined lifestyle choices that they need to make to live a healthier, better life and fix the root cause of whatever's causing their high cholesterol, high blood pressure, high sugar, all of that stuff. They don't want to do it. So the doctor says, oh, you just take this. Okay, cool. I can take this and keep living my life. But what they don't realize is they're destroying their life. They're destroying their body. They're destroying their libido. They're losing their hair. They're getting skinny fat. They're losing their vitality. That's what happens. So they get all these people on these drugs, and they just suck the life out of them so that they can live. Isn't it interesting? And we've got all these environmental toxins, not only in just our food, pesticides and all that stuff, in our water. It's also in our clothes. Look this up. Sounds crazy, but look it up. Look up how toxic is polyester. How toxic is spandex. And then check all of your workout shorts and see what they're made out of. They're made out of polyester or spandex most of the time. And when you're sweating, you're heating up this plastic on your body. You're absorbing these chemicals. If you're wearing them, guess what? You're absorbing them right into your genitals, affecting your endocrine system, doing all sorts of horrible things to your body. Look this up. Don't take my word for it. So what I'm basically advocating for, guys, I could go way deeper in all this freaking nonsense that's going on in our country. We spend $4.6 trillion on health every year. most of it coming from preventable chronic disease and having the worst health outcomes out of any major industrial society out there. Isn't that crazy? We should be the kings of the world. We are. We're Americans. And we are the most unhealthy people because we've sacrificed health for convenience, responsibility for convenience. It's all convenience based. People want, in America, everything to be convenient as possible so that they can just keep running the rat race. Running the rat race. Whatever helps you run the rat race more and more, people will just outsource. And what happens is you're losing the essence of life, of what it's like to be a human being and go through a little bit of struggle and inconvenience, because that's what keeps you a human. If you don't use it, you lose it. So I think we're in this point where people are starting to wake up, and we need to merge these things, our modern way of living and our primal lifestyle, okay? Because our modern way of living saves our lives, like antibiotics. You know, that's what would kill us back in the day. We get an infection, we cut our arm, we get some sort of bacterial infection like I did from the oysters. You can die. You can just straight up die. That's why a lot of, our primal ancestors died. And mind you, 90% of our existence on this planet, 90% of our existence on this planet has been spent living as basically primal hunter-gatherers. Think about that for a second. So only 10% of our life have we lived, or our existence rather, on this planet, have we lived with, agriculture and all of this convenience, processed foods, refined foods, all that type of stuff. And probably even less with the processed and refined foods, because I'm talking about, farming, agriculture, stuff like that. And now in the United States, it's gotten so bad. Just anything that you can do to mass produce, make money, lower costs, screw health, efficiency, convenience, right? So wake up. We need to wake up and start to merge our primal living with now our modern lifestyle. We need to obviously take advantage of the fact that we have emergency medication, emergency rooms, so that if something does happen that can kill us, we can get help. But when it comes to these more chronic ailments, skin issues, arthritis, diseases like diabetes, depression, which we call a disease now, which is a luxury. Try being depressed if you have to focus on survival. Just try it. So, returning to our primal lifestyle, eating real food, nutrient-dense, protein-dense, fiber-dense, probiotic-dense food is what will heal you from the inside out. Let food be thy medicine. So cutting out grains, cutting out anything that basically came after that 90% of our existence. When we started to farm agriculture and process grains and rice and things like that, go back before that, because that's how we evolved. That's how we spent most of our existence on this planet. And if you do, don't take my word for it, just try it. Try it for a week. Cut out grains, cut out bread, pasta, rice, oatmeal, everything. Just have real food, crafted by nature. Not crafted by humans, crafted by nature, or God, or the universe, whatever you believe in. But not humans. And when you do this, your health, you'll see, in the first week, you'll lose 4 to 5 pounds at least. What is all that? What is all that? Why are we hanging on to that extra 4 to 5 pounds of inflammation in water? Why? Drop it. See what happens to your joints and how you feel and how your sleep improves and how you wake up with a lot more energy. Just see what happens. Just try it. And not only just the food, the training side. You see, nowadays we work out like robots. We're doing bicep curls. We're doing chest one day. Next day we do arms. Next day we do legs. Like we're some sort of partitioned robot. No, this all works together. It all works together. So opting for functional training where you're using your whole body is way better for your joints, your longevity, your everything. And not only that, when you do this type of stuff, you do more of what I'm doing in this video, more of like high intensity interval training. You raise your metabolism. You simulate more of that primal environment. Working out fasted. Simulating what we would have to have done in that environment that we all grew up in. Fast, work, feast. And what do we feast on? Well, let me ask you this. If I dropped you on an island, I think I've said this before, but if I dropped you on an island with access to nothing, no other humans, no other nothing, what would you have to do? Eventually you'd have to kill an animal and eat it, or you would perish because you wouldn't have the nutrients you need for your immune system to function, for you to function, for everything. Veganism, vegetarianism, that goes out the window again when survival is a factor. And again, we spent 90% of our existence living this way. Meat was the primary source of nutrition. I'm not saying eat only meat, but it should be the centerpiece of your diet. And everything else should be fruits, vegetables, nuts, honey, maybe dairy, if you're okay with that, if that agrees with your system. Again, what do we do to make dairy? Basically nothing, unless we really get the processed cheese and all that. Avoid that, but raw dairy, that's nature, baby. So when you stick to nature, when you train naturally like a natural primal being, you'll see the results. You'll not only lose fat, build muscle, but your joints will be better, your sleep will be better, your testosterone will be higher, your libido will be higher, your overall vitality will be higher. And get this, guys, again, I'll say it again. We spend $4.6 trillion a year on this crap. You know what you can do instead of arguing about stupid political talking points that you don't even really know much about and doesn't really affect you directly? You know what you can do? You can make a change in your own life and prioritize your own health and do these things and save our country some money so that you don't end up like one of those people that costs us all these time, money, and resources. That's it for now. This video is about to end because the camera cuts off. But I appreciate you guys. Like, subscribe if you found value. Next episode coming soon. Peace.